Folks, I wanted to take some time with this video to share some home movies of my youth. Excuse me. And a lot of people have been asking me for more material about my upbringing, my background, where I'm from, what we did, how we grew up, what my family was like. And I grew up in a big Catholic family. There was probably 40 or 50 brothers and sisters. I'm not sure how many. In those days, Catholic families were pretty big. And I think my mom lost track after around 25, 26 kids. And so we don't know. There's probably 40, 50, maybe 55 kids in our family. But let me just show you one of the things that my family was into. And believe it or not, we were a huge bowling family. And in fact, we had a bowling alley right in our house. We weren't rich. Excuse me, I'm fighting a cold. Okay, here's my dad. That's my mom. She's doing something there in the kitchen. I couldn't figure out what that was. There's my sister, and there's me playing with some kind of rocket that we had picked up probably at the Woolco. You guys remember the Woolco department store? All right, no one remembers that. All right, that's because I'm old. But that's just a few of us from our huge family because, a lot of times the other kids were out doing stuff. That's when kids didn't stay home and play on video games all day. They actually went out, rode bikes and stuff. But here's the bowling setup we had in our house. It was a 2-lane jobby. And the reason we had this was that where we lived, that was the number one sport. Participant sport, you know what I'm saying, of all the sports adults might play, for example, tennis or golf. When I grew up, it was bowling, and that's because it was in Ohio. And in Ohio, you spend half the year huddled inside because of the horrendous winters. And they're not so horrendous because it's such a deep snow, although the northeast part of the state gets deep snow due to the lake effect. It's the other way around. It was the fact that the winters were just so weak. They were cold, but you didn't really get a nice blanket of snow, so you didn't really enjoy, that wintry look. It just was sleety, haily, half snow, which would melt, and then it would come back, and then it would sleet, and then it would rain. Horrific winter. If the winters in Ohio were a television program, they would have been canceled after one episode because they were just so bad. And so the antidote was bowling. So the state of Ohio grew up around the sport of bowling and vice versa. They're 1-1. And that's why you see a bowling ball on the Ohio flag to this day. But anyway, here you're looking at the different designs that my family reviewed before they put in the bowling alley in our house. My mom was in charge of the color schemes. And at that time, there was only a few basic color schemes. Here's a kind of a yellow. Here's the blue. I kind of like the blue. They didn't really ask us for our opinion as kids, but I kind of liked that blue. Different shades of blue. There was kind of a white base. This scheme had a majorly white theme base to it. This is kind of a cream or rosemary, not cream, more like a rosemary or light pink. So then we had to determine, after we picked out the color schemes and the basic look of the bowling alley in our house, what would be the basic equipment that we wanted to go with it? How did we want it set up? What were some of the options that we wanted in our bowling alley? And my dad, being a huge bowler, he went with the best. So this is, at the time, this was the most advanced bowling alley setup on the market. And here we are testing out the lanes. You can tell my mom, she's having a good time, and she's a good bowler. She's great. That's the thing. Everybody was good. Everybody in Ohio is a good bowler because they grew up bowling. There's kids that come out, they're born, and they put a bowling ball in their hand. like immediately. And some kids, they can't even walk. You know, a little baby, they can't even roll around because their hand is stuck in a bowling ball. But the parents they put the pressure on them right away. And we weren't that bad. I mean, they let us grow up. I'd say I was probably a year and a half old, a year and a half of age, whatever I'm trying to say there, when they started us bowling. You know, then they give you a little bowling ball and little pins, and we're bowling at that age. So at least you had that year and a half to experience youth before the pressures of bowling. But it's such part of the culture, you don't even think about it. You don't even question it. You don't even know about some of this research that has come out now about the dangers of bowling. You know, there's people that have permanent finger and hand injuries due to bowling balls. But in those days, there wasn't any research. And if you complained about a finger or hand injury, they would just make fun of you. You'd be shunned. You would be told to, toughen up. Bowling is a tough sport, and you got to be tough. That was the speech you would get. I never went through that because actually I liked it. I enjoyed the sport. I had several different bowling balls growing up. I remember in my room, there was probably 10 or 12 kids in my room, and I had we shared. We weren't that, we didn't have any money basically, and what money we had was spent on this bowling alley in our house. So we had to share bowling balls. So in a room of 10, 12 brothers and sisters that I had, we probably had, I'm going to say, maybe eight different bowling balls that we shared, and for practice. And my dad made us get up at I think it was 3 a.m. to practice for 4 hours before school, and then after school ended around probably 3:30. We got home around 4. We had to practice for another 7 hours to 11, and then to bed. Maybe he'd read us a story or something, and then to bed. So we got a few hours sleep, and then a couple of our brothers, we again, it was a huge Catholic family. I have no idea how many brothers and sisters I have, but I think a couple of them didn't like that schedule. So around 8 or 9 years old, a couple of them took off, just left, the runaways. And the strange thing is, they ran away from our house, but they took their bowling ball. They took a bowling ball, basically stole it. But let's cut them a break because they don't know what they're doing. So they're 9 years old. They're delirious. They just didn't like the bowling schedule, practice schedule. It wasn't. Some people were saying it's torture, child abuse. Come on, man, it's bowling. It can't be that bad. It was practice. He's trying to get us good. It takes sacrifice and commitment. There's my mom again, and my mom. Look at that. That one wasn't so good. 6 pins out of 10, but. Here I come to look at that. Look at this. This is me when I was a kid. Look at that. There's a kid that has had some. That is hilarious. That is me. That is a poor attempt right there. Normally, if the camera crew wasn't there, normally, if this home movie was not being shot, my dad would have. If I had made that mistake in a normal day, he would to get you to be better. It wasn't punishment or anything, but he would put your hand like on the kitchen table, and then he'd take an old bowling pin, and the weird thing is he never hit you with it, but he'd hold the bowling pin. Look at that! I just converted. That was my splayed out technique, where I kind of did a Superman style, or I was diving down the alley. Look at that. My dad's giving me, my mom, everybody's congratulating me. And see, those are the days. Those are the days. Families don't go out like this anymore. I don't know what the deal is. But anyway, he'd never really hit you with the bowling pin. He'd kind of threaten. He's like, if you don't straighten out your bowling style, if you get a gutter ball like that again, and he'd hold the bowling pin above your knuckles. But he never hit you with it. He never hit you with it. So It's just to get you to be better. You know, that's how they used to coach, man. That's how it was done. People think that sounds like abusive or something, but that's the way sports were, man. That's the way all the sports were. These days, people don't know about commitment and sacrifice and discipline. That's the thing. There's no discipline in sports anymore. I mean, geez, just look at the recent Super Bowl. How many loudmouths are in that game? Golly. So, anyway, back to this home movie. Now, this machine, check this out. Look at how this thing would load. Now, at the time, this was a cutting-edge technology. Check it out how these pins go in that little turnstile. And this thing is cranking them around. Look at that. Isn't that incredible? I mean, I just love looking at this bowling machine. This bowling pin. Look at that. Grabs him by the neck, picks him up, sweeps it. Man, look at that. That's our crest right on there. That's our family crest right on the bowling pin. My dad had everything down. He wanted the best. And we didn't always have food, and we didn't have a car. He had to walk to work. It was a 9-mile walk for him every day. And my mom didn't have a car for groceries or picking up and dropping off kids or doing any of her activities. So she actually rode a horse around town. All of that just to have enough money for this bowling alley and those cool shoes. Look at those cool shoes she's got there. Those were expensive. Those were like $700 bowling shoes made from the skin of a very rare African snake. Those were the original snakeskin bowling shoes. And then she dyed them white. I don't know why she did that, but because they kind of look cool in their original coloring. Anyway, so then we're done, and you can see all the bowling balls we had. Those are just a few. Because, again, I had like 40 or 50 brothers and sisters, and so we had a lot of bowling balls right there in the house. This thing is it's a combination machine that they were coming out with at the time. And it says, as you can see there, it says a ball polisher. So you could put your ball in there, it would polish it up, it would clean it up. This thing also sold stamps. And on the other side was a Coca-Cola cooler. It's full of Coke bottles in ice. And this is in the foyer of our house. Like right when you walk in the door, we had this. I'm sorry. This is my memories are fading. This is the locker room, right? This is off to the side. It wasn't right near the front door. That'd be ludicrous. But in the rear of the house was a locker room setup where you could change into your bowling shoes, or this is so much more elegant than the way they do it now. You just change into your shoes like right at the lane. It's just, how gross is that? It just looks uncouth, right? And here's my dad's tying my shoe, and he's giving me tips about how to deal with women, and he had some crazy concepts and about dealing with women, but hey, successful marriage, and I don't know if I would do some of the things he recommended. Like, for example, he said if you don't get along with her, just don't bring home any money to buy groceries. He said those days, a lot of times the man brought home the money for the food stuff. He said just don't give them any money for food. They'll come around. I was like, wow, that's ridiculous. Here's a concept that we looked at for a house to expand our bowling alley, and had some cafe tables, and this is something my dad was thinking about expanding our house, but ultimately we decided against it because already some kids were leaving because the pressure of practice and not getting a proper diet, and so the bottom line is that we loved bowling. It was a great family activity. And I loved the lessons that it taught, the life lessons that we got from my father and mother and the rest of the kids, just bowling every day. We never left the house. That was the bad thing. We never went on vacation, or some of the kids were held back in school because we were always bowling. But those are little things. Those are little things, and here we are leaving the house, I think, to go probably out into the front yard to give the impression that we just weren't always in there all the time. You had to make some kind of sacrifices for that, but that's it. So, hey, those are some home movies from back in the day. I'm a lot older than most of you guys, so that's going to seem like it's ancient, but it gives you a glimpse of my youth and the family, the great family life the great family that I grew up in. So there you go. That's all I have for now. Hey, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe.